Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Libby Fournier, and I am the CEO of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. As an independent source of data, research, and pertinent information for policymakers, the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children works to shed light on the state of early childhood education in our state. Alongside our partners, the Policy Institute has been surveying Louisiana childcare providers since 2020 as a part of a larger effort to help understand the issues facing the childcare sector in Louisiana. This year's report, Pay Forward, Investing in Early Educators, the current challenges and opportunities facing Louisiana childcare providers, was compiled from June 4th through the 20th this year for our survey findings. Grateful you all can be here today to hear from our panelists as they share the major takeaways and insights from the survey. Before we introduce our panelists for today's press conference, I want to take a moment to thank our partners, Agenda for Children, Child Care Association of Louisiana, Children's Coalition for East Louisiana, For Providers by Providers, Louisiana's Association for the Education of Young Children, the Louisiana Association of United Ways, the National Association of Family Child Care, Northwestern State University, On Track by Five Alliance, Point Coupee Early Childhood Coalition, United Way of Southeast Louisiana, and Volunteers of America for helping us make this report even possible. Now, I'm excited to serve as the moderator for today's program, during which we will hear key findings from our report, Paying It Forward, Investing in Early Educators. Before we discuss the report's findings, I want to acknowledge the tenacity of the early childhood education system over the last 2 decades. As we approach the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, it's important to remember the child care provider's critical role in our state's recovery. When schools, businesses, and entire neighborhoods struggled to reopen in the aftermath of the devastation, early childhood providers became a cornerstone of stability. They welcomed children back into safety and nurturing spaces, offering education and comfort during a time of uncertainty. Their work allowed parents to return to their jobs, supported employers who needed their workforce, and helped the rhythm of daily life amid widespread loss and disruption. That legacy of resilience and community leadership continues to define Louisiana's early childhood system today. Just as they did after Katrina, childcare providers remain essential to rebuilding and strengthening our communities, fueling economic recovery, supporting family well-being, and laying the foundation for the next generation to thrive. Since Hurricane Katrina and Rita, Louisiana has made great strides in increasing the quality of early childhood education in our state, and the childcare providers have answered the call for increased quality time and time again. Multiple surveys of childcare providers and staff over the last few years have shown that providers continue to share their commitment to and passion for educating and caring for Louisiana's young children. Despite the awe-inspiring changes and growth providers have made to create a high-quality system for young children, we still have so much more to do. This survey provides many helpful insights into continued needs and challenges that early childhood providers in Louisiana face, which affect many families throughout our state. Throughout today's program, I encourage you to utilize the Zoom Q&A feature to share any questions you might have. There will be a dedicated time at the end of the event for a question and answer session where we will attempt to answer all your questions. With that, it is my pleasure to now introduce you and welcome our first speaker, Shannon Johns, owner of Sinlaw Christian Child Care Centers in Greater Alexandria, who will share about the continued high cost of providing high quality early care and education in our state.
Thank you, Libby, for the introduction. It is a privilege to be here today to speak about the real and persistent challenges facing early childhood providers. According to this year's provider survey, Louisiana childcare providers continue to face significant financial strain, especially from rising operating costs and insurance premiums. Nearly 80% of providers said they are worried about being able to keep their doors open over the next 6 months. The top 3 reasons providers cited for these anxieties were families struggling to pay for tuition, higher operating costs, and the long wait list for Child Care Assistance Program, which prevents families from enrolling and providers from filling open slots. More than 60% of providers said the cost of food, beverages, cleaning supplies, and other basic materials increased over the past year. On top of that, 45% reported an increase in staffing costs. These routine expenses continue to chip away at already thin margins. Insurance continues to be one of the largest financial burdens for providers. 71% of providers saw an increase in at least one type of business insurance, such as liability or property insurance. Statewide, the average insurance premium increase was just over $7,000 annually, which has a significant impact on small businesses like ours. These costs already add to thin margins. Half of providers said their revenues do not or only sometimes cover their monthly expenses. Even with families paying an average of $283 per week in tuition, 3 out of 4 providers charge less than the actual cost of care, meaning that they absorb expenses that the families cannot afford. Many providers are also carrying unpaid tuition balances. 52% of providers reported serving families who are behind on payments, and 48% had families leave without paying their final bills, with the average unpaid amount nearly $4,900 per center. I have felt the pressure myself that comes with the rising cost of expenses. Out of my current 6 centers in a few different parishes, we have incrementally increased tuition over the past couple of years to keep up with the rising costs of goods, things like food, cleaning supplies, and classroom materials. But then the insurance premiums skyrocketed a couple of years ago by 50%. So this increase alone completely wiped out any progress we made. And the reality is this: with insurance and operating costs climbing so quickly, we cannot afford to pay the wages that our high quality teachers truly deserve. And while another tuition increase might help, it would definitely push our already struggling families into an even worse position, especially when so many families are sitting on the CCAP waitlist currently and unable to access that financial support. I know a lot of times it feels like we're trapped, at least for me, in the middle, caught between costs of running a safe, high quality center and the financial hardships families are facing. Without the relief, we do risk losing the very teachers and families who make early learning possible.
Thank you, Shannon. Too many providers are having to balance what families can afford with consistently increasing basic and routine expenses, just as you shared. Next, I'm pleased to introduce Jennifer Stevens, Director and owner of Garden of Knowledge in Bogalusa, to discuss the staffing challenges facing providers.
Thank you. I'm honored to join today and talk about one of the most pressing challenges providers face across the state: staffing. The provider survey shows that more than 80% of child care centers experienced staff-related costs or challenges this year. Nearly half had to pay higher wages to retain staff, hire less qualified or less experienced applicants than they would prefer, or pay more in overtime because of unfilled positions. Additionally, almost half also reported losing new hires in less than 6 months. Turnover is an ongoing concern. 72% of providers said they are worried about staff turnover in the next 3 months. 70% in the next 6 months, and 70% in the next 12 months. For those who lost staff, the most common reason for leaving was higher pay at another job, followed by no longer wanting to work in early childhood education. The impact of staffing challenges is seen clearly in wait lists and enrollment. Nearly 2/3 of providers currently have a wait list, with the greatest demand for infant and toddler care. The most common reason families are on wait lists is that they are waiting for CCAP approval. This is not only delaying access to care for families, but also prevents providers from filling open seats and bringing in needed tuition revenue. 51% of providers said they experienced decreased enrollment over the past year, which could be a result of families' inability to afford quality childcare without assistance. In my center, we have seen a lot of influx and rotation in staff because of the majority of the things discussed in this survey and a lot of the things that we have found. it's definitely a concern for the providers in my area as well. And it's hopefully something that we can come to some sort of conclusion for.
Thank you, Jen. Really, the ability to recruit and retain high quality staff is increasingly critical for both stability and access to quality early childhood education. When providers don't have the staff they need, classrooms remain closed, families stay on wait lists, and young children miss out on important learning opportunities. Now, I'm excited to welcome Demetrius Rogers, owner of Tender Touch Nursery in Rayville, Louisiana. She will speak about wages, working conditions, and what providers are doing to support their teams.
Thank you, Livy. So we know that early educators are the foundation of high quality childcare, but this year's survey shows childcare educators and staff are not able to be paid what they deserve. The survey shows that at least 80% of the providers are open from at least 7 a.m. to 5 to 6 p.m. each workday. This exceeds the 7 to 8 hours K-12 schools are typically open, meaning parents utilize childcare often have greater support to work or further their education. The average salary for early childhood teacher in Louisiana is about $28,277. This is less than half the average salary for a K-12 teacher, which is about $56,560, and far below a sustainable wage for a single parent with one child in Louisiana, which is about $72,000. Despite receiving very low wages, early educators are experienced professionals. On average, 61% of ECE teachers and 87% of directors and administrators have been with their current workplace for at least 3 years. But very few receive basic benefits. Only about 24% of providers offer health insurance to full-time staff, and only 22% provided retirement benefits for full-time staff. Even fewer offer health insurance to part-time employees. While most providers cover background check fees and offer at least one form of benefit, such as paid vacations, bonuses, or incentive pay, or reduced tuition for childcare, many simply cannot afford to do more. The wage challenge is not limited to teachers. When we think about kitchen staff, they earn about $25,000 per year. Janitorial staff earn about $21,526 a year, and directors and admins make about $40,821 annually. These salaries are far below the compensation for comparable K-12 roles. For example, compare director salaries to principals in Louisiana who earn more than $120K on average. When providers were asked how they would use additional funding, the overwhelming top choice, selected by 66%, was to increase employee salaries and wages. The second most common choice, selected by 43%, was to provide bonus incentives for staff. As a childcare provider, I'm able to offer incentives like weekly, a summer and a fall paid break, paid closure days, and occasional bonus and things like that. But I would love to be able to do more for my staff because they're so deserving of it, and just not having the sustainability to offer higher wages puts us in direct competition basically with the local McDonald's who are able to offer higher wages for our staff. And so having a more sustainable means of funding would offer me a way to have a sustainable wage for my staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Demetrius. It's clear that early childhood educators are experienced, they're committed, and doing everything that they can to meet the needs of children and families. But without competitive wages and benefits, the field will continue to face high turnover. And the other point I'd like to make here is when we compare what educators make in the K-12 system versus what they make in our early childhood system, our early educators are working year-round, day long. which is in comparison to our K-12 teachers. So to put it in comparison time-wise too is something important to think about. To close out today's findings, I'd like to welcome Sierra and Mark, a family childcare provider in New Orleans. She will share what Louisiana can do next to better really support childcare providers and build a strong early childhood system.
Thank you, Livy. As Louisiana works to become top destination for families to live, work, and thrive, we work to recognize the foundation role that early childhood education plays in reaching that goal. The 2025 Provider Survey makes it clear childcare is essential infrastructure. It supports working parents, prepares young children for lifelong success, and allows employers across the state to maintain a stable and productive workforce. To sustain and strengthen this vital system, Louisiana must first invest in early educator workforce development, recruitment, and retention by expanding high school training and certification programs to include early childhood credentials. Second, providing categorical CCAP eligibility to childcare professionals so they can access the same care they provide to others, and studying the implementation of competitive wage scale for early educators. Second, fully implement and expand the impact of Act 454, which reauthorizes the workforce child care tax credits and ensure more businesses can participate in expanding access to child care to their employees. And third, we work toward a sustainable long-term funding model for the early child education system. The current patchwork system leaves providers operating on thin margins, families struggling to afford care, and children missing out on crucial early learning opportunities.
Thank you so much, Sarah. With a strong and successful early childhood system, we can ensure children are ready for school and life. Families can stay in the workforce without disruption, employers stable labor pool, and our communities enjoy stronger economies, increased tax revenue, and better long-term outcomes for the next generation. Thank you to all of our speakers today for joining us to share their experiences and the key findings from our statewide survey. We will now transition into question and answer portion of today's events. A couple of questions sent to me. The first one I'm going to read is, what signs of improvement have you all seen in the early childhood education system over just the last year? What are some things that you all, as owners and operators, have seen in the system that have improved in the last year? Who'd like to kick us off on that?
I'll take this one, Libby.
Great.
So one of the biggest things that I've seen over the past year is the strive for quality through the quality rating, and the fact that about 8 out of 10 centers in Louisiana are now proficient or higher. So that shows that we are really pushing forward and moving into that high quality setting of childcare.
Thanks, Demetrius. Anybody else?
I think I've also seen more recognition at a state level with understanding lawmakers, understanding the importance of early childhood education and really understanding that we are brain architects and that we are doing foundational work. For me, I think that's been gains in the past 10 years, but particularly the past year, I've seen that improve.
That's a good point, Shannon. And that's really a testament to each of you that are our panelists today, but also to the many providers that we have throughout the state who stand up every day and advocate for what they know is important for young children to learn, change, and grow at the most optimal level. And so keep on educating your elected officials, keep talking to them and telling them about the importance of early care and education, because it does help. And we've seen that shift, as Shannon and Demetrius have shared, around quality and the importance of that. A question I also just received was, what remains to be one of your biggest individual challenges as a childcare provider? And Sarah, I'm gonna actually kick that to you, because as a family childcare home provider, like, your challenges are unique.
Yes, there are. Sometimes it could get very significant, and it may cause a personal obstacle when it comes to operating a business in Louisiana with lack of wedges for different families to afford childcare or family childcare expenses to maintain their daily lives. So what I like to do is work with the parents, kind of see where they are, take a step back, see what their income are, and work around that family to be successful.
Thank you, Sierra, for sharing that. Really working with those families to see what they can. Thank you. Patrick Moore actually just submitted a question. And Shannon, I believe you know Patrick as well as I do. His question is around, what are the challenges and costs related to being rated excellent? You know, what are those challenges and those costs when you're moving up in higher quality? What are the things that you all face that just makes it hard?
One of the things that I face with moving up to that next level in quality is, one, time, because with quality comes extra training, extra one-on-one. And so having the time, and then again, the compensation to make these things happen.
Thank you. Shannon, I saw you come off mute as well.
Yes, and I'll agree. The training portion, our time and resources that we use to train new teachers, to get them to that level that we'd like them to be in order to be high quality. Those are all things that it costs money, right? It costs, we have to pay them for their time. No, I'm grateful that we have Rapides Parish. We have a ton of support here, and I am so grateful for that. But then this goes back to that staff retention piece where, you know, a lot of our staff, we have high turnover because of it is the nature of this profession, unfortunately. So we get these folks trained, spending that time and the resources, and then they end up leaving within that 6-month mark. So that is one of those areas that I think we really need to look at to see how can we retain these folks that we are investing in.
A good point. And then the other piece I wonder is, as you get into higher quality and you may make decisions around reduced ratios. Could one of y'all talk about that when you have, you know, lower teacher to child ratios? How does that really affect your bottom line as you're moving up in quality too? Because I know it's a staff retention thing, but also you don't have many children per teacher.
So when you get up into the quality care, and you're reducing those child staff ratios, of course your payroll goes up, added cost. Um, the things that are needed to maintain that classroom, it pretty much in a lot of cases double. So you're looking at more supplies, more training, more payroll, and things like that.
But what would I get? I'm going to follow up on that one, Demetrius. So all those things which are expensive and hard to do, what helps keep people to maintain that quality? Like, why would that be important to you as a provider, even though it's costing more? What are the things that make it important for you to be able to maintain that quality, and why?
Simply put, the future of our economy, the future of our children, and just wanting the absolute best. And childcare providers, we're very resilient. We're gonna do what we have to do. But just the quality, I just can't express how important that quality is, because when we give those children that head start, we give them that solid foundation, um, they go on and they do better things.
Yeah. You see the light turn on in their eyes, which I think
Yeah.
is the joy of work for sure. You know, one of the things that came up in the survey was around that 63% of providers said that if they were given a chance to invest a large amount of money in their childcare center, they would spend it on those staff wages. What do you all think about that? And would you make the same choice and why?
Absolutely. Teachers are the heart of everything that we do. And what is our mission daily? It is to better outcomes for children. And to better outcomes for children is to help our teachers hone their skills, right? And we need high quality teachers in those classrooms. Um, I would absolutely increase wages. I don't think our teachers are compensated enough for the work that they do in those classrooms. I said it before, and I'll say it again. We are brain architects, right? 90 some percent of a child's brain is developing from 0 to 5. That's huge. Our teachers should be compensated for that work, because it's going to, we've said this before, it's the foundation. It's going to set them up for future success. But the point is, again, our hands are tied due to insurance costs, due to the rising cost of goods, and trying to keep tuition at a cost where parents can't afford it. So it is difficult at times, but again, it goes back to what will better child outcomes. And I think for me as a provider, increasing wages for our folks who are doing the hard work is an absolute.
Yeah. Thanks, Shannon. Sierra.
I think it's very important, and it's very critical attracting that area. Going back to teacher wages, because teachers take the time, like within family child care. The reason why family child care is very important, because we are allowed in Louisiana to have 6 children. And with those 6 children, we can take the time out to meet them where they are as the whole child. So what I like to do is when a child come in, I literally create an individualized curriculum or a personalized curriculum, or I have to discover and investigate their learning style to find out where to reach them and how to have them to succeed for success. And we have extra one-on-one time with the children to get them up to speed and more advanced. So that's why I think that is important for teachers to have an increase in pay when it comes to child care centers and family child care.
Thank you, Sierra, for that. Patrick asked another question, which I think is just really at the heart of the work. Why did the teachers choose to stay with you even though the pay is not where it should be? It's probably the same reason y'all do what you do. Yes.
They love the littles. They have a passion, they have the heart to watch a child, to help a child grow. And we have employees that are absolutely loyal because they love those kiddos and they love what they get to do as far as the impact that they're making in their lives every day.
Thank you. Sierra, you wanted to say something?
Yes. That was a wonderful question. Parents, employees, they stick with the child care centers and family child care because they see the growth within their children. They see the love, they see that their children are learning and they're learning at a higher level. And when their child have that connection and the connection between a teacher or other employees, parents look at that and they see growth, they see opportunity, they see that this child can succeed for the future.
Thank you. I have one last question that I'd really hope that each of you could answer. And I think you'll answer it differently in different ways. But the last question that I got was, what do you want decision makers across our state to know most about early childhood education? And I'm going to kick it to Lamitrius, then to Jen, Shannon, and then Sierra. Lamitrius, come off mute, please.
So if there was just one thing that I could really get policymakers to hear, I would want them to hear us say we're losing talent. Um, Passionate educators, we just mentioned, why do people stay with us? But we lose so many people because they love what they do. They love the centers that they are at. They love the children. They love the families, but they simply cannot afford to stay. And we cannot afford to pay them what they're worth to keep them there. So the one thing that I would want policy makers to hear is we need to invest in our little people for the future of Louisiana.
Thanks, Demetrius. Jen, do you want to offer anything? What would you want decision makers to know across Louisiana about the most important thing about early ed?
Yeah, I would mimic what she just said as well, that we need to invest better in our little people, and really start listening to providers and what our needs are. Nobody knows our needs better than we know our needs. And if you take care of the center will take care of the children. And we can't do this without quality staffing, quality materials. And unfortunately, these things do take money. And literally all of the world's problems can be solved with quality early childhood education. Every problem that we have in this world can be solved that way. And we really should start taking it more seriously and investing in it more.
Amen to that. Shannon, what you got? What would you want them to know?
I think for me, it's return on investment. Childcare is not a luxury. It is infrastructure of Louisiana's economy. And every dollar spent at this level in early childhood education, it's going to pay off tenfold. And it's going to create stronger communities. It's going to create a stronger Louisiana. It's going to create a stronger future workforce. And for me, that is important, like Jen said, and the other ladies. We get to be a part of the future of Louisiana, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Sierra, you want to round us out? What would you want to tell our elected official policymakers the most important thing about early ed?
My strongest point, I believe, is it starts with research. There's more information coming out daily to be implemented into policy. And there needs to be a little wiggle room within policy as changes always occurring with the new technology that we are, all experiencing at this time, with data keeping up growth competitive against other states and within Louisiana, as the other ladies mentioned, which is very important, expanding maybe the voices, reaching out to the people in the community, and maybe getting more involved within engagement and guaranteeing sustainable funding for employees to stay at these centers to support the children with the high quality materials that they need.
Thank you so much. We've gotten two more questions, so hold on, ladies. From Nicole Carey, has the local lead system improved things for you? What works well and what needs to be better with the local lead agencies? What do you all think?
I think without our local lead agency, the Children's Coalition of Northeast Louisiana, honestly, as a provider of 4 sites across Richland and Franklin Parish, I couldn't, especially during the COVID period, I couldn't have imagined maneuvering through that era without our lead agency. Um, they give us so much. They fight so hard for us. Um, and our local lead agency go above and beyond. And I just could imagine being in childcare without that support from them.
Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Um,
I would like to say something. Oh,
Sure. Everybody could say something. Go ahead, Sierra, and then we'll go to Jennifer and then
all right.
Shannon.
I feel like the local lead agencies really support family child care in Louisiana within coaching, make sure that we have the proper trainings, and make sure that we have a lot of meetings and workshops to support the families, including family child care and child care centers as well within Louisiana State. They believe in us, licensings believe in us as well. And with the local league, all of the information that they gathered and provided for all of the centers in the state of Louisiana is very beneficial. And I would like to say thank you.
Thanks. Jen?
So I have worked in 3 different parishes. So I have seen firsthand how the level of support from one lead agency to the other differs. And I would like to see more continuity and more equitable support, because that level of support is so very important and vital to the quality that centers can bring. And when you're working in an area where you don't really have that support, it's a huge struggle on top of all of the things that we've already discussed today. It's just another barrier to provide excellence to the community. And so I really wish that there was more level standards across the board for lead agencies.
Thanks, Jen. Shannon?
Yeah, I have to say our lead agency has been integral in helping all the sites in Rapides by providing resources become high quality. Our centers would not be as high quality as they are without the support from the Rapides Early Childhood Network. And they are amazing. We have coaches, we have the resources. We also have some other local organizations in the area that provide trainings as well. And without that help, I don't know that we could afford, for one, to provide training to all of our folks. But they have just been amazing in helping us all get to that high quality status. And I agree with Jen, that needs to be the same across the board, because it is imperative and it truly does help better child outcomes.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much for answering that. We've seen the shifts from our viewpoint at the Policy Institute, but having the community leads and really the support that offers to you all as owners and providers. And the other thing I really walk away with is that, and somebody said it so eloquently, is childcare is not a luxury. It is something that our families need, and you provide that service with love and care and quality that makes an indelible mark on the children and families in our state. And we can't thank you enough. Thank you all for sharing your experiences. Our state really, quite frankly, is better because of you and the quality of early care and education that you all provide to our youngest learners and to the children and families of Louisiana. Also, thank you to all of you for being a part of this important discussion today. If you have any additional questions about our provider survey report or would like more information about any of the upcoming Policy Institute events, please email info@policyinstitutela.org. To read the full report and learn more about the work of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, please visit www.policyinstitutela.org. We will be sending out a video of this webinar and a copy of the report after today. We really appreciate you being here today. Thank you to everyone who participated in today's webinar, and take care.